So I read the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego a few months ago, and I hadn't read that story in a long time. And King Nebuchadnezzar, the whole fiery furnace story that we a lot of us grew up with, and I read this story again. You know, these three guys who wouldn't bow down to this big, huge image of gold that this king had made in honor of himself. So literally all the peoples and all of the lands, when they heard this music play, they would bow down and worship this image of gold, which probably was an image of him. And these three guys wouldn't do it. And they got brought to the king, and we all know the story. They got brought to the king, and they're there in front of the king. And there was a line that they said that just moved my heart more than I had ever expected it to be. Reading this story, I was like, I'm going to return to, a childhood story. And I read this story, and they were before the king, and the king was like, bow down or I'll throw you in the fiery furnace. That's just how it is. That's what I do to people who don't bow down. And they're like, well, we have a God who's able to deliver us. He's able. He's our Redeemer. And then they said this line, which captured me so much. They said, but even if he doesn't, we're not going to bow. And it just, I don't know. I felt like there was such power. Because we all know the outcome of this story. They went in this fiery furnace. An angel shows up with them. They didn't get any burns. They came out. It says they didn't even smell like smoke. It's such a story of deliverance. But these three guys, that before they got delivered, said, we have a God who's able. But if he doesn't, he's no less able. He's no less our God, and we're not going to bow to you. And so I had this chorus of this song that popped into my head, as I was thinking about it. And I've had it for months. And actually just a few days ago, came up with a verse. This song has a little bit more soul than usual. And the chorus that came to mind right when I read that story was this chorus. Burn us up, burn us up, burn us up, oh King, oh won't you burn us in the furnace of your desire. We give up, oh King, oh won't you burn us in the furnace of your desire. Oh won't you throw us in the fire. I had this whole song, and that's all I had for months, is just a chorus. But I wanted to focus this whole song and tell the story of these three guys, but it was so hard because I didn't want to be like, how do you tell the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego without saying Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego or King Nebuchadnezzar? And so I just was in this dilemma of trying to fit these things in the story, and we came up with such a cool way of Shane kind of being a narrator, just a guy in this room of this palace, in this scene of these men as they were confronted by the king, and they, in their confrontation with the king, they just pledged their life to God. And they pledged their life. You can burn us up. You can burn us up. Whatever you want to do with us, but we're not going to bow. We will burn for our Lord. And I wanted to be the crux of the song, that line of, God, even if you don't, we'll burn. Even if you don't, we'll burn. And so the whole storyline changes where, the king kind of confronts them. If you don't bow, you're going to burn. And then there's this big chorus that they're singing to the king. Burn us up in the furnace of your desire, King. We give up to you. We're going to go, and we're going to go straight to the furnace for our God. If that's what it takes, we're going to do it. And then the narration kind of changes, and then Shane talks about, the whole palace stopped when they're on the way to go burn in the furnace, and they turn their eyes to heaven. They turn their eyes to God, and they sing the same chorus: burn us up in the fire, burn us up in the furnace of your desire, God. And it shifts to them, and then the crux of this song just being like, God, even if you don't, You are able, but even if you don't, we're going to burn for you. Whatever you have for us. It's kind of, even while I was singing, it kind of had some of that kind of Jesus at Gethsemane imagery of like, take this cup from me. But your will be done. Because I'm in. There's no plan B. I'm in. And so it's been a really fun song just to kind of tell a story. We haven't told a lot of stories in our songs, so it's been kind of a fun song to tell a story with.